but they did a fantastic job. And I think, you know, what really helped was that these weren't wrestling fans that made this documentary. And I think that that really helped to tell this story that I wanted to tell, which is not just a bunch of maneuvers or, you know, what makes wrestling cool through a wrestling fan's eyes. I think in the end it also accomplished that, but I feel that maybe, you know, that's something I could show some of my friends that have been disenchanted with wrestling. Anyway, I'm happy with that, guys. Jeez. For someone who's become my rival, and for someone who did so much damage to me yesterday, Chris Jericho's contributions were pretty funny. But I won't thank him. So I suppose now is the time for the panel. I freaking wish that I could see anyone to raise their hands to ask a question, but I'm blinded by this goddamn hot light. No, for real, the lights are blinding. I can't see anything. So if someone could help me point out who's asking a question, get a mic, and I can answer some stuff, let's do it. I'm gung-ho for it.
And we got Dan St. Germain who are going to help us out, and they've both got...
And of course, I'll try my best to answer the question, but who knows if I'll even be able to.
Hey, I'm Damon. Nice to meet you, Kenny.
Hey there.
Hey, I have a question. So, regarding, like, I love gear, first of all, and you have probably some of the best in all of wrestling right now. I know you're very meticulous in terms of your creativity and all that. So what goes through your mind in terms of, like, when you plan for making gear for a particular event or match or anything like that?
That's a very good question. You know, most of the time there is a theme to every match. And I had a very interesting idea for a theme for this particular occasion. However, I thought with it being a brand new start, I didn't want to go too crazy with it, and I wanted to kind of keep it just general and make it more of an introduction to my new entrance music. Because I felt that if I did something, a huge production, we'll get to that production eventually, trust me. That idea is just kind of, it's going in the shelf for a second, but we'll probably bring it back for All Out, probably. For example, one of my costumes was where it was created for my first ever main event at Osaka-jo, which is like the palace. So I used a lot of imagery, Japanese imagery from the palace on my tights, and it kind of became one of my favorite costumes to use. One of my greatest supporters, Matsuya Jurina, I don't know if you guys know, but she was #1 in AKB, and she fell ill, so I made a costume just to show support for her, that she would show support for me. One of my other favorite costumes was during the G1 when I wanted to meet Ibushi in the finals, so I did the half Ibushi, half Kenny. There's always a theme. There's never a time when I just go, yeah, I'll just do this, that, and this, and I don't know, you come up with it. There's a meaning behind everything that I do, and sometimes it's for better or for worse, but I overthink things a lot. But for the next show, and set of shows, there probably will be costume changes, and there will be a theme, and whether you guys can decipher the code or not, it will be something special to me. So, yeah, if that answers your question. Yeah.
How you doing, Kenny? This is actually my second question this week to you. You took my last one on being the elite the other day.
Oh, I did?
That was me, yeah.
Oh, thanks for the question.
Amazing movie. The Bullet Club was touched on lightly. Would you be interested in doing a documentary with those guys sometime like this?
You know what? We kind of, it's interesting because we did release a Japan-only recreation of and sort of history of the Bullet Club. And I think even New Japan released kind of a mini-series of, I don't know how long the episodes were each, but it was like 20 minutes or so per era. But a Bullet Club documentary, I think, would be interesting. But the problem is you have at least one party that isn't willing to play ball, and they have some key members right now, unfortunately. So as much as I would be interested in doing so, there probably wouldn't be comment from those players. And I think to really make that successful, for people to understand sort of the impact and what it means to everyone, we would have to bring the whole band back together and get comments from everyone. So I don't see that being realistic right now. I'm all for it, but I can't see it, especially after the success of last night. I can't see it happening anytime soon.
Yeah!
Hello, Kenny. Over here.
Where are you?
I'm Brian from Los Angeles. I wanted to ask regarding your Japan career. I'm familiar with some of your work in New Japan, and I really like the matches. I was wondering if maybe you could comment on an underrated match in New Japan that people could check out, or a DDT match that is probably not seen by a lot of people.
Absolutely. There is a guy in DDT, and I had such incredible chemistry with him. And you wouldn't really know him unless you're really familiar with the product, but his name was Antonio Honda. And he is so good. I have great matches with someone in DDT called Harashima, and I have actually very good chemistry with another guy who's very up and coming, and I'm kind of excited, and who knows, you probably will see him in AEW, and his name is Konosuke Takeshita. So, but if we're going to talk about matches, particular specific matches, you would have seen them already, but copyright infringements and such have prevented it. We have this type of match, kind of famous in DDT, and it's called the Rock and Roll Death Match, where you wrestle the match, but at a random moment in the match, the DJ will play music, and you have to stop wrestling and dance until the music is finished. And I sort of made a legendary series with Antonio Honda or Ayazawa. And I wish I could release these somehow in digital form or on DVD, or just kind of discreetly upload them somewhere before they get yanked by copyright infringements and such. But they're so fun, so funny, so creative. And I was actually looking back because I really missed tagging with Michael Nakazawa. We had a heck of a team, like for real. And we did this match where it was myself and Michael Nakazawa. And it was against Michael's more common tag team partner, Matsunaga. And a girl that actually debuted yesterday for the show, for the AEW, Hikaru Shida. And this might be uploadable, and maybe I will, but I mean, there was dissension within the ranks of the Nuder brothers, which is Matsunaga and Nakazawa, and we decided to make oil legal in the match. Baby oil was legal, 100%. And the whole thing degenerates at one point because the kendo stick is introduced. Nakazawa wants to fight back. I'm not doing this justice, but let's just say I find the perfect weapon to combat a kendo stick, and things degenerate in glorious fashion. And it has become, I think it was at the time, one of my favorite matches of all time. But after rewatching, I'm like, man, this thing holds up, and it's a great match. It's so funny. There's no lull points. It's just like wrestling reinvented. And then I think we ended it off by singing the Japanese song, the Japanese version of the Frozen theme. You'd never seen anything like it, but yeah. My DDT library, I hope at some point will be available to everyone. And if it can't be, then I hope to bring some of those aspects back to AEW so you guys can see the brilliance of what DDT is.
Yep. AKA Joshua from Winnipeg here.
What? Come on, you liar. All right. Thank you, man.
So, two-part question here.
Yeah.
Have you guys put in any thought into having pay-per-view events specifically Winnipeg or any other city? And also, is TSN going to be the channel that the weekly show will be appearing on or airing on?
Those are two very good questions. So I don't know if you guys knew this, but TSN is, somewhat loosely related to ESPN and such, and ESPN also has a relationship to TNT. The connection seems kind of organic there. And I really do hope that people in Canada will have immediate access to our weekly television show, and we will strive to make that happen. And that being said, it would be a disservice to my wonderful Winnipeg fans to not bring two of the top members of the AEW roster that are from Winnipeg and sell the MTSA. And you know what? A place that's also kind of special to me is we've done Toronto. And anytime I went there with Ring of Honor, those fans were so warm and receptive, and it's really a huge hotbed for wrestling. And they're always just hungry for more and more and more. And I really think that we could kind of, I don't know, make like I don't want to say a house show loop, but I want to make it so that we hit Canada and we travel across Canada with our brand, because that's something that we never could do with New Japan when we were trying to break into the Western markets. But now is the time, and the people in power are the right ones to make the decisions, and Tony's all about it. So I can guarantee you that you will see not only one, but multiple shows in Canada, and hopefully a weekly show in Vancouver as well.
Hey.
Yes. Hello. Hey.
I'm Robert. I'm here from Las Vegas. And
Oh, you didn't travel far enough. Next question. Just kidding.
So the documentary here presents a LGBT story. How important is LGBT representation for you? Why is it so important to you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's just, you kind of look at things in the wrestling world that are, ignored, or things that, it's easy to always be the low-hanging fruit in wrestling because, as actually Dave Meltzer said, it's sort of considered third-rate entertainment. We can get away with just being cheesy and sort of, it's almost expected for us as wrestlers to not be a top-quality form of entertainment. It's okay for us to be bad actors. It's okay for us to tell terrible stories. It's okay for us to abandon storylines because, hey, we'll be back next week, we'll give you something else. Who cares? We don't want to be a traveling circus and take our fans for granted, and we want to make sure that our stories have payoffs that you guys can love and appreciate, and we want to make sure that our stories are not only just, LGBTQ centric, but I mean stories for everyone, for this kind of person, for that kind of person, for that kind of person. When I try to tell my stories in particular, as best as I can, I try to paint in broad strokes with plenty of finite strokes in between. So you can kind of take something that I'm painting in this picture and you can take it into one direction because there are those details there. And then there are those details in another direction if you want to take it that way too. Everyone asks, and everyone kind of assumes that, when they watch this documentary, and of course it was hard for me to comment because I hadn't seen it, but they said, I loved your documentary, but I think it focused too much on your gay storyline with Kota Ibushi. And when I watched it just now, I thought, I didn't look at it that way. Not at all. It never at one point, even though that story was important to me personally, and I brought a lot of my real life into that story, and something that meant a lot to me, and in a way meant everything to my career. It was more about not only the relationship between, two men of the same, two people of the same sex, but how that relationship helps and can fuel someone thrive in the workplace and thrive in real life, and how it can inspire you and how it can make you a better person to be at one with your feelings. It's not about, hey, you gay man, know, it's never about that. That was never. I'm not trying to paint this mysterious picture. That shouldn't be the takeaway from what Ibushi and I are. It was, you know, how can the person that you love help you take the next step, and how being together and being at one with someone, with yourself, can make you the best person that you can be. And that's why that story was really important to me, to tell to the people, but also even just for myself, because there was a part in my life, you know, without Ibushi, when I felt that I was better off alone, and that I was going to use the negativity and my own jealousy to fuel the character that was the cleaner. And I felt that I had high points, and I felt that, you know, through the evil character that I had portrayed, that there was entertainment to be had, but I'd only found my true success when I threw away the feelings of jealousy and hatred and anger, and when I started to look on the flip side of it, and started to embrace, you know, the love that I'd felt for the people around me, my pillars of support. And that's why you started to see, no matter what the storyline was, you would see the Young Bucks with me every big match. I couldn't have done any of those matches with Okada or otherwise with Ishii if I didn't have the Young Bucks with me, if I didn't have Ibushi with me. And in the end, it took not only for the Young Bucks to be there, but for me to train with Ibushi, and then have Ibushi with me almost on a daily basis, to get myself in the condition, to get myself in the headspace, and to feel almost ready to empty my heart in the ring for a match that I knew was going to last over an hour. I know that sounds maybe strange to some people, because sometimes wrestling is fake, it's a performance. But for me, it has kind of become my life. And if I don't involve my life, my real feelings and my real emotion, and if I'm not true to myself, then my performances themselves will look kind of hollow. And I just hope that at some point, because, you know, I don't really get out much, you know, and I don't really have too many, now that this whole thing is consuming this new product, my own worry is that I'm going to have a lack of life experiences to help fuel the hamster wheel in here to power this thing forward. But every day these interesting things are happening. Even today is going to be a memory that I'll never forget. And these are all things, these feelings that I feel when I'm watching myself on screen, these feelings that I feel when I'm in front of you people, these feelings that I feel, you know, when someone from a rival company shows up and then throws me 10 feet a stage, and I'm sitting there like from the Joker from the original Batman movie. These are all things that inspire me, and they will fuel me, and thus you will get more unique original stories. And they're not going to be necessarily for everyone, but they will be for someone. And I think that's what's going to make AEW the perfect variety show, and why the last 3 matches were a complete different extension of us as people and characters. The Cody versus Dustin match was extremely different from the Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers, which was extremely different from myself versus Chris Jericho. We believe in all styles of pro wrestling, and we believe all of them can thrive. However, we will never feel the need to copy one another or feel that we have to remain in a certain pro wrestling archetype. It's always going to be a variety show. And there's always going to be so many types of emotions and things you can take from our shows. And we just hope that, you know, even if you don't like everything, that you'll be entertained with most of what we have. And it'll be different every time.
Kenny back here. Hi, Kenny. It's T-Call.
Oh, yeah. What? This camera? I saw a light somewhere. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Okay, but just speak to me.
No problem. I just got done watching the documentary with everybody. It was very inspirational. It made me wonder a couple questions, Doug.
Sure.
You were saying that you do a lot of things that might be detrimental to your career. Have you had friends or family try to steer you away from things that they thought would be detrimental, maybe like you wrestling the girl or even the Golden Lovers? And how do you continue to just bet on yourself and focus to do those things when people are trying to, pull you in different directions, saying what you shouldn't do?
Oh, yeah. So, for example, the little girl. I had kind of, at that time, I just kind of come under fire a little bit in sort of online, on social media and otherwise, by the Japanese community, because the Golden Lovers had just made their debut in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and there was kind of a very strange freak accident where when we do our double quebrada attack, we did it on the same side together, and the two guys that we moonsaulted on, they collided in a very strange way, and Jado, who's had a history of neck issues, something happened. I guess he had a terrible hernia to begin with, and it just, I don't know if he went unconscious, but he just felt that he couldn't continue the match. And right then and there, we're sort of painted out as, okay, Golden Lovers are unsafe. They're crazy, they're off the rockers, and people are gonna get hurt. And we really hated to have that image out of the gate with the New Japan fans, because we really felt that what we had was something special, and then what we did was very controlled, and we could control our body movement in the air and otherwise. And then the opportunity with the little girl came up. And I was kind of down in the dumps. Every wrestler, no matter who they are, would hate to be painted out as a dangerous athlete. I don't know one person that would take pride in being someone that's a danger to work with in the ring. So, you guys have probably heard the story about the little girl a million times, but for me, I thought, okay, this is the chance I have to make up for all of that. Not only can I make someone's dreams come true, they can make their debut in the ring in front of all their friends and family on Stardom's first big show